So recessions, condo conversions, sparking new problems. A few years ago, condo conversions were the new thing. Every apartment community was getting converted to condos, and there were all kinds of problems and challenges. Some of those problems and challenges are still there. However, we're starting to hear from developers again of taking apartment communities and going condo. As we notice the multifamily sector improving, we notice lots of apartment communities getting built, new rental units, kind of going out there, and what's surprising is that more of those rental communities hit, the more that some of these large owners of apartment communities start to think, oh, could we oversaturate the market? Maybe it's time to start thinking about taking some of our apartment communities condos. So it's something I think we're going to see a lot of. And I know, George, you've talked on the show before about how you guys will actually, when you have an apartment community that's looking at doing something like that from a financing perspective, you can take some steps to help that developer or that apartment building owner look at what they need to do to set things up to get it to be able to qualify for financing.
Yeah, we actually have a condo department out of Orlando, our corporate office. We'll actually have someone come down here and review all the docs and things like that and get things in order so we can get that project approved. Once the project's approved, you can get a condo loan with as little as 5% down.
And it's amazing because I remember a few years ago we were telling people, anyone that had interest in a condo, 20-25% down. That's changed. If the community has good financials, if the community is in good shape,
correct,
then the 5%, because that can't apply to everything. So if you call us this week and say, oh, I want a condo for 5% down, and here are the communities that I want, your communities may not qualify. So it does depend a lot on the community. We get people say, oh, my credit's great, I got plenty of income. That's not really the point. Today it's not just about you being able to qualify, it's just as much about the property of the community.
It's both. We'll qualify the borrower and we'll qualify the project.
So if you're thinking about, buying a condo, you plan to see some condo conversion projects start to spark up. The tough part about buying the condo conversions is that, it's one of those things where it's a great entry-level product, but sometimes if it's not done right, it can cause a lot of problems. And so certainly pay attention to that. But I suspect we're going to see more and more of the condo conversions and that sort of thing. And the condo and apartment, the condo side of things is interesting from an insurance perspective too, because now, for you guys' perspective, you're not necessarily insuring outside, it's all interior based.
Right, yeah. Usually the condo association has a master policy which covers the exterior of the building. So what you're responsible for as a unit owner is you're responsible for what we call the drywall in. You're responsible for the drywall and the flooring and the kitchens and the baths and the carpeting and everything else inside of that unit. So another thing to remember is that you're responsible no matter what happens to that property, even if the responsibility ultimately lies with one of your neighbors. Maybe they caused a flood in their unit, or they fell asleep and fire started in their unit and it damages your unit. They're not responsible to pay for your unit. You're responsible for your own repairs, even if it was ultimately caused by the negligence of one of your neighbors. So you do need to have that in place, and you do need to make sure that you have coverage. Even if you think that you're a responsible homeowner, somebody else may not be so responsible.
It's funny though, that when we think about it from the insurance perspective, sometimes we think it's common sense.
Sure.
But it's not all. Sometimes people don't think about it from that perspective.
We see a lot of people that have lived in condos for many, many, many years. I dealt with one this week who has a Clearwater condo, and he's owned it since the 1980s and has never had insurance on it. So, and in the past, it wasn't necessarily required. I mean, if you walked in and paid cash for a condo unit, it was optional if you wanted to buy insurance or not buy insurance. But nowadays, there's actually rules and laws in effect, because stemming back to the 2004 hurricane season, when we were really hit really bad, there were a lot of condo buildings in Clearwater and places where you see the high-rise condos where people didn't have insurance, and then the hurricanes came through, and these condos were essentially gutted because the windows were blown out and water intruded into the condo unit, and the people didn't have the money to rebuild it. So these sat vacant, and they, mold was growing in them and different things like that, and all the units around them were having to deal with a really bad situation of that particular condo unit really kind of messing up the rest of the building. So now there's laws in effect that if you own a condo, you need to have condo insurance.